From London Live, we have Stuart Smith of DD India joining us. Stuart, interesting to see Prime Minister Starmer sitting next to Zelensky. And how is this really seen in terms of reset and realignment when it comes to Britain's relationship with the continent and his interventions? I mean, the first major event after assuming a premiership of UK.
Yeah, it's really a special meeting because while there are the leaders of the European Union nations that meet frequently, a pan-European conference like this, with 45 European leaders, is really unusual. And for Keir Starmer, a new Prime Minister only in the job for 2 weeks, to be able to host such an event, that's a real boon for the UK. And it also allowed Keir Starmer to effectively deal with the most pressing regional geopolitical issues without needing even to leave the UK. So it allowed him to talk to President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine to reassure him that despite the new government, there will be no change in support for Ukraine, and even to sign an agreement, bilateral agreement between London and Kiev that guarantees Ukraine's defence and military industry. As part of that conversation, as well as trying to reassure Volodymyr Zelensky that UK support would continue, the UK leader, Keir Starmer, was also trying to indeed reset relations after the chaotic EU-UK relationship that came after the 2016 EU referendum that led to the UK leaving the European Union and all the political shenanigans that came after that. Keir Starmer is trying to portray a sense of stability and also a sense of wanting to work with the European Union much more closely. So while the UK is not going to rejoin, to have a working relationship where trust is something that connects them. That would allow, for example, Keir Starmer to make progress on immigration, a hot issue here in the UK, which requires, he says, the assistance of European leaders to help tackle the problem at source.
Having said that, we've seen how European political community leaders have reaffirmed consistently their support for Ukraine in this setting also. But if you could just shed some light as far as other key shared concerns are concerned, such as migration and energy, and how this is also seen as an opportunity for Prime Minister Starmer in terms of drumming up support from his European allies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's nothing better for an international leader to be able to meet the most important key players in person. And with that, with the attempt to build trust, if that is developed, and looking at the way leaders reacted to see Keir Starmer earlier today, it seems like he is developing that rapport. That would allow him to, for example, encourage EU leaders to push for a UK-EU returns agreement that would allow the UK to send asylum seekers who come to the UK illegally, not to Rwanda like the previous government was suggesting, but back to the countries from which they came, whether it would be France, the Netherlands or Belgium, for example. It would also, hopefully, Keir Starmer wants, allow the UK to access the European Union's fingerprint database of those asylum seekers, helping to make the UK more secure to find out who these people are. But then when it comes to other areas like energy and climate change, a priority for this government, which is hoping to reach net zero electricity by the end of 2030, it will need to work with European countries to take, for example, energy from France through interconnectors and other countries like Norway that produces hydropower. So there's a whole host of ways, if Keir Starmer can get this relationship right, to leverage the relationship with the European Union. Yeah,
absolutely. And leveraging this relationship with European Union along with agenda setting ahead of the meeting. Remember, he promised UK would have a more, and I quote, active and greater convening role on the world stage, quote unquote, and he needs to deliver on that promise. So basically, you're also reaching out to your own constituencies back home when it comes to UK's big share of relevance in the EU settings.
Yeah, absolutely right. This is not only a signal for the European leaders, it's a signal to the domestic audience as well. In the first 2 weeks, Keir Starmer showing that he is an international leader from Washington as well at the NATO summit, and also saying that he's tackling the issues that Britons care about, notably immigration.
All right, Stuart, many thanks for joining us live from London and putting this in perspective. Thank you. And still to